everybody, welcome. This is Holger Mueller from Constellation Research, sharing my takeaways from Amazon's Reinvent conference, which happened last week in Las Vegas, all over the strip, up and down, from the Mandalay Bay all the way to the Encore. So, similar like last year, Amazon slash AWS has really taken over Las Vegas in a very impressive fashion. Over 40,000 attendees, similar numbers like last year. It still felt busier, despite I couldn't make it to even all the different areas. So way too much happening. What are the key takeaways from the event? Well, the biggest one obviously is AWS Outpost. AWS comes on premise with manifold implications for CXOs, building next generation applications, wanting to move their loads. There's two perspectives to it. It happens together with VMware being the virtualization layer. Actually, I think AWS just running what they were planning to run with VMware, or they're running VMware anyway in the cloud on premises, 3 instant types. Effectively, AWS becomes a hardware vendor, competition to the Dells, HPs, and all the other guys. On the other side, you could see from VMware's perspective, this is basically meaning that there's another engineered appliance partner for VMware. It's just called AWS. I'm certain that HP, Dell, and the other guys have some concerns in regards of how low can AWS go hardware-wise. AWS can live with very tight margins. The machines they're putting in are popular machines in the public cloud, so economies of scale should work in AWS favor. The interesting thing in the control planes, there we have emancipation between Amazon and VMware. Customers can choose if they want to use the Amazon/AWS control plane, or if they want to use the VMware control plane. I think customers will use what they're familiar with, customers moving loads from the public cloud back to on-premise for a number of reasons that we constantly see, like performance, like cost, like statutory regulatory reasons requiring data to be locally stored in a data center where AWS may not be available. Those next generation applications which run under AWS are likely going to be managed under AWS because people like what they're used to. Anything coming from the enterprise where VMware is pretty much set the de facto standard for virtualizing loads in the enterprise means pretty much, I think people will stick with VMware control plane. But future will tell, it's early days. The whole thing only ships in the second half of 2019, so lots of things can happen until then. The other major news, and something I've been asking since basically 2.5 years since Google's been announcing the TensorFlows, is when will AWS get into dedicated hardware to allow both learning and execution of machine learning or AI models, as it's called. Good news is there's finally somebody giving a run for the money to Google, at least in the starting versions. Too early to say where it really is going to go, but dedicated AI hardware or machine learning hardware being made available by AWS with I think it's the PD instances. And interesting enough, with a custom version of TensorFlow, which runs better on these machines. Good to see that AWS cares for the performance of TensorFlow, potentially concerned because who knows how portable the models are and what needs to happen to models to run them on the modified version. Didn't have a chance to dig down into this. Every year, Amazon's inventing or reinventing and investing in the database side. This year, 2018, was no difference. New database released. Last time it was Neptune. This year, it's a distributed ledger database, very fittingly. Something that was missing from Amazon's side was blockchain overall. 2 blockchain offerings, general hosted offerings with Ethereum and Hyperledgers there. And then for the use cases of a central ledger database, distributed ledger database called quantum computing, not quantum computing, but called quantum database, which is confusing with quantum computing, which I just demonstrated. And then a time series or time stream database, which is equally interesting, using the capabilities that Amazon has generally developed as a retailer to capture things on time-based events. So 2 more members to the Amazon database family, giving Amazon stressing that CTO Werner Vogel's presentation, giving customer search of dedicated and specialized databases. The big news on Monday in the presentation, unfortunately missed, name just escapes me, former CEO, very interesting presentation the other year also, how and Amazon skinned down the application servers. This year was about open sourcing Firecracker. Firecracker is the framework which runs serverless, and serverless in Amazon means, of course, Lambda. And that framework will be outsourced. I think a clever move. outsourced. Now we made it available to open source. It's late. Clever move from Amazon to a certain point, because everybody wants to win and determine the standard by open sourcing something. Google has done this really well with Kubernetes, with TensorFlow. They're trying it with Istio now. If someone has a chance to put something else out there, like a serverless framework, like a function as a service, a fast framework, then it is Amazon with the existing Lambda architecture, which is super popular, shipping already since 4, if not even 5 years. Correct me, whatever the writer town says. A product that's always near and dear to my heart is Amazon QuickSight. I think it launched 2 years or even 3 years ago. Was off to a smaller start, has really come back now. Very interesting tool to give users the visualization they want to have, they need, and disrupting the traditional business intelligence space. And then last but not least, developer tooling. Last year we saw AWS announcing its own developer interface, its own IDE, integrated development environment for developers. A key move, that's pretty much the living room for developers, where they live and work the whole day, something they're accustomed to, they want to use. Good for Amazon to have their own, with, I believe it was called Cloud9. This year, kind of like the opposite move to a certain point, bring all the relevant AWS tooling to pretty much all the other popular IDEs which are out there, an equally important move. What's my overall impression before this takes way too long? Amazon's pushing, AWS pushing at every corner, every part of the stack. Special news was, of course, the Outpost capability and the hardware-related offerings which come with that, as well as the dedicated AI hardware and the AI chips that I mentioned that built by Annapurna, the Intentia chip. That's all a good move to create more competition around AI. On the concern side, it's a lot of things which are shipping. It's hard to get your head around it. Customers are struggling with it. Amazon, AWS would be well advised by packaging things better up. This does not have to mean the end of innovation, which I always asked this year, couldn't make it, Andrew Jassy, if they think it's too much complexity, and he keeps saying no. He said no this year too, answering my question remotely. There will come the time when too much Chinese menu will be too hard for customers to digest, to find repeatable ways to success on top of AWS. But the verdict is also at that point is AWS is doing really, really well. The concern of customers should be heard. AWS is very good at listening to customers. We'll see what happens in the next 12 years. This is Holger Mueller from Constellation Research. Thanks for watching. Follow me on Twitter. It's Holger MU, HOLGERMU. See it below. Tons of tweets about the events, all of them the keynotes connected in Twitter moments already. And then, of course, there's the one slide share already out since last week on SlideShare to see everything which I was talking about here in one compressed slide. Thanks for watching. See you around there. Appreciate it. Bye-bye.